So today we're going to be testing two different bullets. It's again a Hornady vs Barnes expansion. I've got the 130 grain Hornady CX, and I have the 127 grain Barnes LRX. They're loaded with CFE 223, CCI 450 small rifle magnum primers, and I'm using Hornady brass today. I'm looking forward to trying these out and seeing how they work, how they expand. I've already tested the 127 grain Barnes LRX, but the farthest I've ever done an expansion test was 300 yards. Today we're gonna do 100 yard expansion, then we're gonna go all the way out to 400 yards, see how these two heavyweight for the cartridge copper bullets expand. This video is brought to you by our first sponsor of the channel, Ader Development Center. Ader Development Center offers consulting and engineering services to manufacturers within the firearms industry. Providing years of firearms engineering experience, Ader Development Center is behind some of the largest companies and most popular products within the firearms industry. Everybody knows that shooting becomes more and more expensive by the day, it seems, and I love providing these videos for you guys, and I really want to say a big thank you to Ader Development Center for helping sponsor the channel and helping support what I do. Anybody that's interested, I'm going to go ahead and leave a link in the description below, and you guys can check them out and go ahead and contact them if you would like to inquire about their services. Thank you all for watching. Let's get on to the video. So here's the close-up of the two loaded cartridges. On the left we have the 130 grain Hornady GMX, and on the right we have the 127 grain Barnes LRX. They're both loaded with stout doses of CFE 223. I won't tell you how much because every rifle is different. I want you to develop your own loads. But I'm looking forward to trying these two out. I think this is the closest apples to apples comparison I can do with the two bullets out of this cartridge. The CX is different from the GMX because the CX is now the copper expanding. The GMX was using gilding metal. I tested the 120 grain Hornady GMX. I was not as impressed with that bullet, but this is a new design and I'm looking forward to trying it out. Alright, so we're going to get a velocity reading on these two loads. First up, I'm going to do the 127 LRX. Second will be the 130 grain Hornady CX. I'll be using a 20-inch barrel out of my AR-15. It's a Proof Research stainless barrel, and that's what I'll be using today in all of my tests. .2507. Now the 130 Hornady CX. 2451. So we're going to be going for a 3-shot group at 100 yards. This first one is going to be the 127 grain Barnes LRX. We'll see how they group. Alright, so we got a decent group there on the 127 LRX. We're going to shift over here and we'll do the 130 grain Hornady CX next. Alright, the 130 grain Hornady CX grouped very nicely. I'm gonna set up some water jugs. We'll do a 100-yard expansion test. We might do a 100-yard bone expansion test, and then we'll go back to 400 yards and we'll see how the bullets expand out at that distance. All right, so I'm getting a little bit frustrated here. This is the second time I've used the 1-gallon jugs, tried to catch the Barnes LRX, and it's blowing all the way through them. So now I'm bringing out the big boys. I've got 6 def jugs. I'm gonna go back to 100 yards. We'll see if we can catch the Barnes LRX now. All right, so I got a little nervous there that I didn't catch it, but I did. I've got the bullet with me. I'm gonna go ahead and do the 130 grain Hornady GMX. We'll see if we can catch it. So I caught the Barnes LRX in jug number 4. Now we're gonna take the 130 grain Hornady CX. We'll see how it expands. Alright, so I want to show you guys the findings. We went through the first jug, blew it apart fairly well. Second jug, we split. Third jug, it went through into the fourth, and if you see, looks like that bullet is stuck in the jug backwards in jug number 4. Alright, so now we're at the heavy bone portion. I've got a cow leg bone. I'm gonna go back to 100 yards. We'll see how the 127 grain LRX does up against bone. All right, as you can see, got a pretty center hit, a very thick part of the bone. Looks like the Barnes punched through, went into the first, did some damage to the first jug, came out, looked like it might have been tumbling by this point, hit the second jug, and dented the back of the second, so this bullet's still in here. Okay, so it's a new day. It's actually several days later since I did the Barnes LRX. I tried 2 Hornady GMX. For some reason I just couldn't catch the bullet. So keep your fingers crossed with me today that we can make this work. I've got the same cow bone, leg bone set up. I'm gonna go back and we'll shoot the Hornady 130 grain CX bullet and see how it expands. All right, so I don't know if you saw, but the bullet did exit the third jug, and I got lucky and I found it on the ground. All right, we're gonna go back to 400 yards. I got a leaky barrel, so I kind of got to make this quick. We'll do the 130 grain Hornady CX and the 127 LRX. The 127 LRX will be first, and we'll see how these bullets perform at distance. Looking forward to seeing what the results are. Alright, so here are our recovered bullets. On the left is the Barnes 127 LRX, and on the right is the 130 grain Hornady CX. This was the 100-yard water jug bullet here. Both expanded quite nicely. I would say the Barnes expanded definitely more uniform, but overall penetration on the two was about identical. Velocity on the two, I believe the Hornady CX was roughly 50 feet a second slower, so nothing huge. Overall, both bullets did really well, and they're both two of the deepest penetrating bullets that I've tested. Moving along, we've got the 2 recovered heavy bone tests shooting into the cow bone. We can see the Barnes expanded quite nicely again. You can see it lost some of its uniformity due to hitting something hard. Overall, it did quite well, and so did the Hornady CX. The Hornady CX actually seems like it expanded more uniformly through the heavy bone than it did through just bare water. Now here's the 2 recovered bullets from 400 yards. As we can see, the Barnes got some expansion. There's still a little bit of the blue tip left in it. And here we have the Hornady CX, which actually seems to have out expanded the Barnes bullet. It did very well. I would say at 400 yards, the edge would probably go to the Hornady CX. So here's all 6 recovered bullets side by side, Barnes Hornady, Barnes Hornady, Barnes Hornady, and so on. How did I think they did? I think both bullets did really well. Can't go wrong with either one. In this test, I feel like the Hornady CX may have slightly outperformed the Barnes. It's hard saying because they were so close, but they did shoot a little tighter groups, and at 400 yards it did expand a little more. So I'm going to go ahead and give the winner to the Hornady CX. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.